IT4U, tips and tricks on ITS tools, products, services, and more, with your host, Jean Mackey. Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to IT4U. It's one of those mornings when you're probably glad you didn't have to go out anywhere to attend this webinar. I'm Jean Mackey, your host. These are interactive webinars brought to you by ITS. And if you are watching the YouTube caption version of this recording, make sure you look in the description field if you want the links that are in here. If you want to participate live, here are some links for you. And what do we got coming up? Well, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to have a webinar that actually takes place in a Blue Jeans virtual meeting. Just kind of give you a chance to check it out. So here's the link for registering, and I'll also send this out later today. If you do need an accommodation to participate in one of our live episodes, just let us know. So what we've got today is what's new in Google Drive. We've got Martin Sager and Jennifer Mruk from ITS. So I'm going to share their screen and turn it over to them.
Hello everyone, my name is Martin Sager. I'm here with Jennifer Mruk. We're going to do a quick comparison of Google versus Microsoft Office products, plus an introduction to the ITS collaboration team. I'd like to thank Jean for having us here today. It's very nice to be able to interact with you guys in this fashion. So just a quick rundown of the agenda. And a quick introduction to the team, a disclaimer. We went over a disclaimer during the migration, but I think it's a good thing to just review it. High-level comparison of Drive versus Office, and then a deep dive into Google Drive. So a quick introduction into the Collaboration Services team. We're a new team coming up on 2 years. We were assembled out of the M+ Google project, which migrated 40-some email and calendaring systems into M+ Google. We have 4 services or products. We support M+ Google, M+ Box, ITS Exchange, mail routing. We're part of core services in ITS, and the service reports to Sean DeMonter, who's the executive in ITS that is in charge of teaching and learning. We also have a campus governance group, so we interact with them on a bi-monthly basis, talking to them about what's going on, where we should make our investments, that kind of thing. It's been an interesting 2 years supporting the cloud. It's a different type of IT. If you're an area where the cloud is coming to you soon, I wouldn't be afraid of it. I would approach it without fear. It's good. It's good. Here's a quick rundown of who we are, along with pictures. So what do? We do training like this. We do presentations. We do communications, consulting, change management, use cases, incidents, DevOps, programming in C to Python, application and cloud administration, on Windows, Linux, in the cloud. If you guys are familiar with old Maze product teams like eResearch, we're kind of structured in a similar fashion. So if you have a problem with one of these services, call the service center. If you want a consultation where you want people to come out into your unit and give a presentation about mail or calendar or Drive, or if you have specific questions, call the service center and ask them for that. We'd be happy to come out and speak with you. Jen was just over at Rexports talking to them about email and calendar, getting them set up. So if your unit is looking for a little extra assistance, looking for that kind of stuff, just let us know. Quick standard disclaimer, everything you hear here is subject to change. So you just have to be used to this. What we show you today, Google could release a new feature tomorrow, literally. Change is the new culture. Some people think it's a good thing, some think it's a bad thing. But if you were to come back and watch this webinar 2 months from now, some of the screenshots might be out of date. So just be aware of that. So a quick, I'm going to turn it over to Jen here real quick.
So we get a lot of questions about the difference between Mbox and mGoogle. So we just want to go through a little bit of an introduction on M+Box. It's a cloud-based file sharing and content management system. Depending on whether or not you have an individual account or a shared account, you'll have anywhere from 50 gigabytes to 500 gigabytes of storage. We hope to announce very soon that that is unlimited storage, but we're not officially announcing that yet. You can collaborate on files, folders, both inside and outside of U of M. You can access files via the web from a variety of mobile devices. You can set up custom URLs, which a lot of people really love about Box if you want to put something on a web page or just want to do a custom URL because it looks nicer. You can do that with Box. It's also easy to use with Microsoft Office applications and is approved for HIPAA data. So what is Google Drive? A cloud-based storage solution. It includes unlimited storage space, a hierarchical file structure with the file folder level permissions, collaborative editing of native Google document types, as well as Microsoft Office documents, previewing support for non-native documents, and previewing of audio, video, and photos in browser. Another great thing about Google Drive is that you can upload videos up to 5 terabytes, and then you can share those videos out with the link instead of sending them through email, which is a problem when you send those large files in email. So Google Drive is the app that stores and organizes your files. It has Google Docs, Sheets, and Slides, and applications. All of those applications are housed right in your Google Drive. You can log in through a couple different ways. You can use the direct drive.umich.edu. You can also go to google.umich.edu, and there's tabs at the top that will take you into your email, calendar, and Drive. You can also go to docs.umich.edu. If you're logged into a browser, you can go to slides.google.com and just go to your slides, or sheets.google.com. I've had a couple people come to me and be like, all I can find is my sheets, or all I can find is my documents. If that happens to you, don't panic. Just check the URL to make sure that you are in drive.umich.edu and not just docs. So Microsoft Office is a collection of desktop applications. It includes Word, Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. Some of the great things about Microsoft Office is that there's better formatting, ample feature options offered in all of those applications, and it has a more consistent and professional look and feel.
We're going to talk a little bit about Office 365, which is Microsoft's cloud offering of their Office products. Microsoft provides applications on all platforms and storage space in Microsoft Cloud Storage. Just one thing to note, the storage is not covered by any U of M contract with Microsoft. So for example, we have a contract that has strong data protections for Google Docs. Yes.
Adam wants to know, beyond HIPAA content, are there best practices you can recommend for determining when to use Google Drive and when to use M+Box for maintaining files within your unit? Are you going to get into that?
So there's right now there's a safe computing guide on that's a great guide that talks about where you can store your data. So that's a good starting point. Safecomputing.umich.edu, sensitive data guide. Beyond that, it's up to you in terms of which service you'd like to utilize for. Box is a little bit better at having better workflow, metadata, a few features like that around things, and it does have collaborative aspects to it. Google Drive is a little bit better at like if you're collaborating, editing a document in native Google format, it's a little bit better for that. So if you want to ask us offline, I'd be happy to go over your specific use case. But there are some sort of edge differences there between the products. So Office 365 is not covered by any U of M contract with Microsoft, so it's not approved for handling any sensitive data. So if you sign up for Office 365 and you get the Microsoft Word app on your iPhone, just be careful not to put any sensitive university data into that application. Just want to make sure that people know about that because it's important because we want to keep the university's data secure. So we put together this this kind of throwdown right here between Google Apps and Microsoft Office. Kind of what which one does what better. Google Docs is the equivalent of Microsoft Word. Google Sheets is the equivalent of Excel. Slides is PowerPoint. So if you think about these, if you're working on a document yourself, Microsoft Office might have the edge in terms of professional look and feel. Google Apps has the edge if you want your documents to be automatically saved, you want to be accessed through any device, that kind of thing. These products are available on most operating systems. And Google has the edge in terms of unlimited file storage, which is kind of awesome. Kind of amazing to think that we've come to a time where you're no longer concerned about file space. And where Google, one thing before we go into the collaboration aspect, Microsoft is the de facto standard for accessibility. They've worked really hard that their product is mature and really good in this space. So I just wanted to mention that Microsoft has the edge in terms of accessibility. Google Apps, yes?
Is Office 365 free of charge like Google?
Office 365 is free of charge like Google with your UMich edu address. Like I said, it's not, if you're dealing with any kind of sensitive data, I would try and avoid it, but otherwise you're free to use it. So Microsoft is better in terms of accessibility, but Google is rapidly getting better in terms of accessibility, and we continue to work with them, specifically reaching out to them, working with them, any kind of known issues to make sure that their products are accessible for all of our staff, faculty, and students. In the sort of boxing match of Google Apps versus Microsoft, Google Apps is better in terms of collaboration. So if you want to collaboratively share and work on a document, so if you have team meeting notes and more than one person is going to contribute to those team meeting notes, Google Apps really wins. They've got integration with contacts and that kind of stuff. There's multiple levels, so you can share a document with someone so that they have commenting rights without rights to change the document, so you can get feedback on the document. And to roll back into kind of talk about this at a higher level, about 10 years ago, Google saw that Microsoft was making a lot of money on their their Microsoft Office product suite, and they decided to enter that space. And their general philosophy is we're not going to get to 100% of Microsoft's functionality in the web. Like Excel at one point had a flight simulator that you could build inside of it, which is kind of amazing, but I don't know how many people actually use that. So 10 years ago, Google Apps said, we're going to try to get to 99 or 95% of the features of Microsoft Office on the web, and we think that having this be collaborative will give us the business edge. So in a certain sense, they've gotten there. Yes.
And are there new things about Google Drive you're going to tell us about?
We're going to talk a little bit about the new Drive a little later on in the presentation. Anyway, yeah, Google Apps is rapidly approaching that. They have new features all the time. You can subscribe to the collaboration forum. We will push out updates whenever there's something that we think are noteworthy. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Google Drive interface breakdown. We have a good video on Google UMich EDU. You can check it out. One thing to note is that the new Drive is a lot like your desktop in terms of right-clicking on things. That gives you a whole nother feature. You might not necessarily notice that right away because in the browser you're generally left-clicking. One thing to note is the search. You can search by file type. So Google is really a fan of these little triangles in the corner of their search bars. You can search by various file types. Owners, so for example, if I'm curious to see who all the documents that Jen owns, you can search for those. And I know that Drive can be a little intimidating at times because people are like, oh, I lost all my documents in Drive. These sorts of search tips, these sorts of more advanced search features will hopefully help you narrow down where your documents are in terms of Drive organization.
Okay, so I am going to break down the new Google Drive for you just a little bit. If you look at the left-hand navigation in Google Drive, it is a bit different than the old Drive. And we're just talking about the new Drive right now. If you are still on the old Drive, you are going to want to switch to the new Drive because it will happen by default very soon. So get in there now so that you can get familiar with it.
And how do we switch to the new Drive?
You can go into your settings. If you're on the old Drive, you can go, the gear icon is the settings. Go into your settings and you can click Experience the new Drive. Okay? So My Drive contains all the items that you've created as well as items that have been shared with you. What you want to remember about that is that what's going to show up in your Drive are those items that have been explicitly shared with you, not items where they've shared a link with you, but items that they've put your name in and shared the document with you. Incoming is the old shared with me. It contains all the items that are shared with you, none of the items that you own yourself. Recent are the items that you've recently had open. Starred are the items that you've actually gone through and starred yourself. I'm a big fan of starring important documents. If I know that I'm not going to work on it in the next couple weeks, but it's something that I'm going to need to go back with to, I star. You can also go through your starred list and unstar items that aren't important anymore. I do that every couple of months. And then, of course, trash are the items that you've deleted from your Drive. So there are various metrics that you can switch on your Drive, which is quite nice. If you look at the right-hand side at the top there, you can arrange your items by last edited by me, last opened by me, and there's a detail panel that you can look at as well, which is quite nice. You can look at who last shared your document, who owns this document, or what the last action on that document was. You can also do like a list view or an icon view. Our screen right now is the icon view, like in a network Drive folder. You can have icon or list view, and Drive, the new Drive works the same way. So file permissions. Permission settings in Google Drive are file and folder permissions. If you have a folder that you've created and you share that folder with an individual or a group, every file in that folder will also be shared with the group. Do we have a question?
Bob says the old drive showed which folder a file was in when searching or in recent. Is that feature in the new drive somewhere?
If you click on the file, you can, right next to the name, there's a little folder icon. It'll show you where it is located. It'll show you the folder structure. So click on the file, look, and it'll show you right next to the name, there's a little folder icon. Click on there.
Yep. Okay. So files and folders. Every file in a folder that you shared is also going to be shared with that group. When permission changes on the folder, those changes are also pushed out to anything that's currently in the folder. Changes, if you change some permissions to a file that's in a folder, it won't necessarily go up to the parent folder. Like if you have a file that you inside a shared folder that you want to share with another group, but you just want to share that file, that's fine. You can share that file and it won't affect the whole folder permissions. Changing permissions to a folder will in no way affect the ownership of the file or the folders. So we also want to talk a little bit about sharing permissions.
Yep.
Yeah. So the advanced sharing menu, currently in the new drive, if you click share, you get the option to just share a link or to put one person's name in. If you click advanced settings, you can see all of the people that the document or the folder have already been shared with. There are some general sharing settings, public access, domain access, and specific user access. And we're going to go into those right now, actually. So links get less restrictive the farther you go down. Or I'm sorry, more restrictive the farther you go down. For public access, that's anyone on the internet can find that file. If they search on something, that file may come up in the search results. Public access with the link means that only the people that you actually share that link with can access that file. What you want to keep in mind about that is that they will always need that link in order to access that file. A lot of people will often say, you know, this file was shared with me, but I can't find it in my drive. And it is 9 times out of 10 because only a link was shared with them. And you won't find that file on your drive. You'll always have to save that link. So just something to keep in mind. Domain specific, anybody at U of M can find and view the file, or anybody at U of M with the correct link can view the file. So it's nice that you have both of those options. And then of course off and only the specific users that you share with can find the file.
So to talk a little bit about why you might use Google Docs. For quick, simple document creation, you can collaboratively build documents. Weekly team notes are a great example. My team, for example, has one set of notes for the year, and we just copy and paste an agenda at the top, and then we fill it in. You know, Jen says what she did this week, I fill in what I did this week. It allows you to search and go back in time and see what people have done over the course of the year. Comments are another great feature. I'll oftentimes work on a document and send it out to a group of people. I just want feedback. I don't want them to edit the document. And so they'll put comments on it, and I can click on Resolve once I've addressed the issues there. And why wouldn't you use Docs? Why would you go back to Microsoft Office? It's really if you're looking for that extra polish that Microsoft Office can provide. So Docs is not all the way there in terms of like if you're putting together a very nice document that you're going to print out, that kind of thing. Microsoft Office still has the edge and will probably continue to remain having the edge there for that particular case. So why would you use slides? This presentation was put together using Google Slides. Like I said earlier, Google is constantly adding new features. One of the new features that probably should have been there a while ago but it has some people excited. Our Google Slides have slide numbers now, which is very helpful. But you can see how they have, I think, 50 releases a year in terms of software releases, updates to Google Drive. And each time they release something, they add another feature. So recently they added Google Slide, or numbers into Google Slides. Go ahead.
Sorry, this is just me asking. I've noticed with Google Slides that if you have people comment, they can only comment on the whole slide and not on a piece of text. Do you know if that's still true?
I think when I looked at it recently, I was able to highlight certain sections of the slide and then put in a comment. So you just highlight the section, drag over that, and then you select comment from the drop-down menu, and it'll specifically target that. Now the comment will be on the side, and it'll kind of look like it's associated with the entire slide, but it is just for that specific section. So it's great to collaboratively build a document. One thing to note with slides is if you're going into a presentation, sometimes you may want to download the slides. So if the M wireless isn't great in the location, or you don't necessarily have great network connectivity, you can download the slides in a Microsoft Office PowerPoint format, and then you don't have to worry about network connectivity in order with your presentation.
Diana wants to know, is it possible to use your own background template in slides?
Yes.
Yes, you can create your own template and even make it available for other people.
And you can import from PowerPoint, right? And that brings in your template.
Yeah.
You will want to give yourself a little time to play with the formatting. Often when you upload PowerPoint into Google Slides, it works, but the formatting isn't quite what it should be, so you'll just need to have a little extra time to play with that.
Yep, there's still some. You'll notice this if you import like a regular Google document or something that isn't very complicated. The import process works really well, but if you import anything that has complex fields or columns or anything kind of fancy, sometimes it can be a little off in the Google import. They're constantly working on this, so your experience that happened, 2 years ago that you really put you off from using Google products, it might be better now, so you might want to give it another shot.
Question, is it possible to print the comments from Google Drive applications, slides, docs, etc.?
I haven't tried to print them. I think if you do a quick Google search, you will find an answer to that question. So search for Google Docs comments, printing, and it should be one of the top results there. If you can't find a result, feel free to call the ITS Service Center. So just to talk a little bit about Sheets. Why would you use Sheets? It has basic Excel functionality. There's new features rolling out all the time. In fact, they're in the process of converting existing old Sheets into new Sheets that have better features. Like you can do things like pivot tables and that kind of stuff. One of the interesting things that I really like in terms of using Google Sheets is you can create sheets that are linked to each other. So you can reference another sheet completely, or you can reference sheets within the same document. That's really great. So for example, I can give a tab to one of my colleagues here, and they can use a special import function to import data from one to another. So it's really great in that kind of regard. That's the live referencing of other sheets. Why wouldn't you use Sheets? If you're a Power Excel user, people do amazing things with Excel. I can't tell you how much of our economy is based on Excel. And I would not recommend those people pushing the boundaries of what you can do with Excel to use Sheets. You might want to come in, see if they're approaching what you're looking for. As I said, the products are constantly getting better. But it may not be there, especially with a heavyweight product like Excel. So we have additional resources. You can always email my team at the email address is here on the slide deck. You can always call for help. You can either call or email for help. If you don't like the response that you got, because either our for help, our service center folks are, these products are constantly changing. If you need to talk to someone with a little more experience, you can always ask to escalate to Tier 3. We are not like Comcast. We are here to help you, and we're really, it's part of our mission. Go ahead.
Tiffany wants to know, are there specific new features in Drive that you're most excited about and you want to let us know?
I think the new Drive is the biggest feature that we're excited about. I know a lot of people are still utilizing the old Drive. Jen, do you have anything else to add?
Like, what is it about the new Drive that you find exciting?
It's more like your traditional, it's more like what you would be familiar with on your desktop in terms of right-clicking, looking at files, that kind of thing. It provides a different layout. So on my wife's computer, she had a bunch of extra documents, I think 5 gigs of documents, and I was able to drag and drop that complex folder structure, which contained 4,923 items, into her browser window, and it uploaded all of those items, all of those folders without a problem. And to me, that's pretty amazing in terms of drag and drop functionality. They're kind of Google's doing magic on the back end there to allow all that to work.
Sorry, excuse me. I would add that I really like and this was released a little bit before the new Drive, but unlimited storage in Google Email and Drive is pretty incredible. I also really love the activity panel. I really like being able to know what was last done on certain documents that I'm working on. I think that's really nice. I can just click on it and read what was done most recently on those. I think Start was in the old Drive as well, right? So
yep.
I just started using it, so that's really nice for me. But that's part of the old Drive as well. So,
as we also said, we've got videos on Google UMich EDU where you can go and check out some of the new features. We have a collaboration forum, which is a mailing list where you can sign up and we send out new announcements. So, for example, if there's a new feature like numbers on slides, or I think Sparkline came out in Sheets recently, which is a little like a mini graph inside of a cell. We will let you guys know about those if you subscribe to that collaboration forum. And if you have questions, you can always ask. You can if you have questions today, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. Just ask in the chat. Jean will relay those to us. Okay. Well, I'd like to thank Jean for letting us come and talk today, and thanks for attending. Like I said, if you have questions or concerns, you can always call for help. We'd be happy to answer your questions.
All right, thank you, Martin and Jen. Let me get back here. Where the heck am I? Here I am. Stop sharing. Stick around just for a second here. So here are links to today's presentation, M plus Google, as Martin was talking about, the UM Collaboration Forum. Reminder that this recording will be on the NextGen webinar page and also on the IT4U page. You can sign up for announcements of upcoming IT4U episodes, and you can also contact the Service Center. Thank you very much for your time today. Please stick around for just a moment. We're going to stop recording, but I want to get some feedback and take you to the polls.